This is a complete beginner's guide to Oritech. This is, I would say, my new favourite tech mod. It has a lot of multi-blocks like these that you see before us. It's fairly intuitive and beginner friendly once you know what you're doing. So let's get started. If this guide is helpful for you, by the way, please do click that subscribe button, as it really helps support the channel so I can do more mod guides like the one you're watching. So, starting off with world generation, Oritech adds 2 new ores into the game. This is nickel and platinum. Nickel can be found about Y level 40 down to minus 65 in Deep Slate, and platinum ore is much rarer and can be found about minus 2 to minus 60 in the overworld, but is really abundant, as you can see with this one in front of me, in the end dimension. You are still going to want to get gold, redstone, and some diamonds, etc., because these are going to be used in the mod as well. But that kind of goes without saying, you're probably getting those anyway. The first machine we're going to be making is a basic generator. This is how we can actually generate some power. So let's have a look at the recipe, because some of the recipes in here are really interesting. And there are other generators in Oritech. It's a really, really cool mod. So when we look at the recipe here, you're going to see we're going to use some nickel, which of course we could just smelt up as mined. And we're going to need some magnetic coils. Now, magnetic coils will require fine wire and steel. Fine wire is simply 3 nickel ingots, and steel can be made in a crafting table with 2 iron and 2 coal. So that is actually a really easy way of getting it. Now, you will see in this one that I'm showing you, it says steel ingot from Mechanism, whereas the recipe is from Oritech. That's because I'm looking at this in a mod pack. So that's how we make steel and fine wires, which helps us get our basic generator. You can see here it says hold control for more info. So when I hold this on, you can see it says add-on slots, none. It is not allowed any add-on slots, and it's going to produce 32 RF per tick. And the energy capacity is 50,000 RF. So this is how much energy it will produce and can store. So let's place it down. We've got our basic generator here. We can go into it, and I'm just going to put in some coal blocks in here. And you can see the power is going up in the machine, and we are generating power. The next machine we would be using would be an assembler. So how do we get that power to the assembler? Well, we're going to make some energy pipes. If you just want to see the Ori mod, you can just put in @Ori in JEI, and you will only see everything from Oritech. If I put in pipe after that, we can then see we have a energy pipe here. And this is going to use electrum ingots and fine wire. So to make electrum ingots, it's going to be 2 gold and 2 redstone. And that is another ingot that is added by Oritech. But of course, it is an alloy, and therefore we must make it as shown. And that is how we use our energy pipes. They're really simple to use. We could just attach this to any side of the basic generator over to a machine like the assembler here, and it will automatically start powering the assembler from the power made in the basic generator. So the second machine we would make then is going to be the assembler. This is a really interesting piece of equipment. To make it, we are going to need some slightly more advanced materials yet again. We're going to need an adamant ingot. And to make that, it's going to be 2 nickel and 2 diamonds. That's our second alloy we will make in Oritech. We will also need some motors, which is some steel, some magnetic coils, etc., which we've already seen, and some reinforced plating, again, very easy to make. So when we place down the assembler, I place it here near the basic generator you made earlier. If I place it here, you're going to see that only 1 block has actually been placed, which is really interesting, right? So we are going to need some machine cores. So if I put in machine core into Oritech, you will see there's a primitive one, a basic, an improved, an advanced, an elite, an ultra, and an ultimate. The primitive being really super easy to make, basic still being fairly easy, improved needing a few more advanced materials like nickel or carbon fiber strands, which we can't quite make yet. And you can actually use any of these. What this will do is it will add how many layers of add-ons you can add into the assembler. We're not going to be looking at add-ons quite yet, but just be aware that's the only difference. It's not going to make it any faster or anything. If you're not going to be adding add-ons onto the machine, you can just use primitive, whereas an ultimate will actually have lots of add-ons. How do you know the quality of it? Well, in this assembler I made earlier, I used a primitive machine core. And in the assembler, you can see on the top left, it says Machine Quality 1. Controls how many layers of machine add-ons can be added. Use better quality cores to increase it. So that's a 1. If I then used a Ultimate Machine Core, which is needing a superconductor and Promethium, which needs quite a lot of crazy stuff, which we can't do yet. If I add these machine cores, which by the way, how do we know where to put them? Well, if I right-click with an empty hand, you can see that the assembler is missing core blocks, and it's showing me here, here, and here. So you need to place them 1, 2, and 3. What you can also do is just right-click the assembler, 1, 2, 3, and it will automatically place them where needed. Clicking it once more, ta-da! You have now built the assembler. It's going to automatically connect to the energy pipe that I'd already placed, and now it is ready to use. And in this assembler, you can see the machine quality is 7 because I used the ultimate machine cores. So on the right-hand side, we have details. You have default, fill evenly, match recipe. Default fills the slots from left to right, moves to the next slot when the first has been filled, fills items evenly, new items are always put into the lowest matching slot, or inserts items balanced accordingly to matching recipes. And then if we click add-ons, you can see where you can place your add-ons on the machine. But again, we're not going to go through add-ons right now. If we look what we can actually make in the assembler, this is going to be used to use multiple items and assemble things, quite literally. So you can see here we can make processing units, we can make basic batteries. You can even do things from vanilla Minecraft, like we can put free paper and a piece of leather in here, and it will make 2 books. And it shows you it will take 15 seconds to do that. And what we can also see is that, remember with fine wire, we can use 3 nickel ingots to make 4. Well, in the assembler, we can actually use 3 nickel ingots with an added copper ingot to make 12. Whereas previously, to make 12, we would have needed 9 nickel. So now in the assembler, we've already made things more efficient by only needing 3 nickel with an added bit of copper to make 12 fine wire. The same goes with magnetic coils and motors, things like that, making them much more efficient to craft. You can see all of the different recipes we can make in here using the assembler. Let's actually show you how to do it. Let's do the one we just done, because this is such a cool mod. So I'm going to put 3 nickel in here. I can put multiples in. And then I'm going to put my copper ingots in here. And look at it go. Isn't this amazing? It's a really, really cool looking mod here. I absolutely love it. And you can see it's quite fast, and we are making our fine wires. The next thing we're going to look at is a furnace, specifically a powered furnace. This is this one here. Again, to make this, it's just as simple. We're using some platinum ingots, which of course you can find, as I said, between -2 and -60, and a lot of it in the end, and some magnetic coils, etc. With a powered furnace, it pretty much does what you probably think it does. If we just place one here and then set up some energy pipes to it, you can see it needs a machine core. So I'm going to right-click that on and right-click it again. And here we go. We now have a powered furnace. It's automatically got power because I've attached the energy pipe to it. And in here, I could just put in things like, iron ore, and it's going to, rather than using coal, etc., it's actually going to make iron ingots or whatever we're needing powered rather than using combustible items here. And that's the powered furnace. One of the first other machines you will need to make in Oritech is going to be a centrifuge. We make this just like our other items. So we make a centrifuge, and it's made a slightly bit more complex. Again, blocks of iron and some motors, which we've looked at before. and also glass bottles. So we're going to place down the centrifuge. And again, it's going to need some machine cores. So we can see here, missing core blocks. So I'm going to place it on there and right click it again. And ta-da, we have our centrifuge. Now I'm feeling lazy, so I'm going to use a creative energy cube from Mechanism to power this. There is actually ways to store energy. We'll be looking at that later. Centrifuge. And this is going to be used to also make, just like the assembler, other items. So when we centrifuge items, we can get, if we put a platinum clump in here, we can get a platinum gem and some fluxite. We can put in a gold clump. And gold clumps, etc., by the way, we're going to be getting from something called fragmenting, which we're not talking about yet. But it's just to show you that you can get kind of secondary outputs from the centrifuge here. One of the main reasons you need to use it at the moment is powdered coal or coal dust will need to make carbon fiber strands. So coal dust will be used in a pulverizer, which is another machine we'll again going to be looking at shortly. I probably should have shown you this maybe the other way around. My apologies there. So you can pulverize coal in the pulverizer into coal dust, and then you can put that into the centrifuge to make carbon fiber strands. You can also use fluid separation here. We've got some water in our centrifuge and some dirt, and we can get clay. But when we go into the centrifuge, what you will see here is that it doesn't look like we can do that. So this is where add-ons come in. So if we go into here and click add-ons, you can see we can add them on the sides here where the plug sockets are, which are these little plug sockets you can see on each side. So what we need for this is a machine fluid add-on. And to make the machine fluid add-on, we will need the carbon fiber strands I showed you, a fluid pipe, and some silicon. So silicon, again, is made in a pulverizer where you pulverize nether quartz into quartz dust and then add it with 2 sand to get raw silicon, which you can then just smelt into silicon. And then carbon fiber strands, again, in a centrifuge, it's coal dust, which again you use in a pulverizer. Fluid pipe, again, using some silicon, and electrum ingots, which we've already gone over. So you get a machine fluid add-on. And then what you're going to do is you place it up against one of these add-on slots. So here, machine fluid add-on to our centrifuge. And now when I go into the centrifuge, you can see it's actually got water tanks as well. And what I can do is get a water bucket, and I can't see it very well because it's behind here. But I can put a water bucket in this bucket slot. Bucket comes out on the right side here. If you can sort of see that. There we go. The bucket comes out here, and then it's filled it up with another bucket of water. Meaning now, when I put my dirt in here, it's going to process the dirt. As you can see, it's centrifuging it. And eventually we're going to get, I think it was clay, I said. And there we go. We got some clay. So we've separated the dirt with water to get clay. And that is how we use the centrifuge. So the first one is items, and the second one, you can say it says fluid separation. And that will need the machine fluid add-on here. Next up is, you guessed it, the pulverizer. It's pretty going to be quite self-explanatory at this point. Quite easy to make. Get the pulverizer. You are going to place it, power it, and it will pulverize things. So if we look into here, we already know, one good thing is you can make dyes from flowers from it. If you actually pulverize things like nickel ore, you will get 2 raw nickel. You can pulverize glowstone into dust. And then looking at the things we really need here, you've got like nether quartz into quartz dust. You've got adamant ingots into adamant dust. You've got iron ingots into dust. Coal into coal ore into coal, and then obviously coal into coal dust. You can also make packed wheat. So there's 4 wheat here going into packed wheat, and that will make biomass, which is used for a few things as well in Oritech. You can make ender pearls into enderic compounds. and coal into coal dust. And coal dust being needed for a few things that we make, like with the centrifuge, etc. And that is the pulverizer. After making your pulverizer, the next thing you're going to want to make is a foundry. Same as before. Very easy to make. Use your machine halls, etc. And when we look at the foundry, you can see here we can make more efficient alloys here. So remember with making steel ingots, it was 2 iron and 2 coal. Well, in the foundry, it's 1 iron ingot and 1 coal dust. So it's made it 50% more efficient for making steel. You can make bio-steel ingots of raw poly, which with your packed wheat, remember, you can make in a centrifuge. You can then make raw biopolymer. So we're really starting to see how things are coming together now. We can use 1 gold ingot and a netherite scrap to make a netherite ingot, whereas usually it's like 4 netherite scraps and 4 ingots. So netherite is much easier to make. Electrum, rather than using 2 gold and 2 redstone, is just 1. So once you get the foundry, things get really, really efficient with making alloys and things like that. I'd really recommend you to make a foundry as soon as possible after making your pulverizer. Speaking of being more efficient, let's now look at the Fragment Forge. This can actually enhance your yield of ores. When ores are processed in a Fragment Forge, they're broken into clumps and small clumps. We can look in here and you can put in your iron, for example. In fact, let's do iron. Let's get 1, 2, 3 raw iron. Let's see what happens in here. So while that's doing that, I'm just going to show you what we can do in the... God, I think I'm dying back here. In the Fragment Forge. So 1 raw iron usually will net you, when smelting, 1 iron ingot. However, with the Fragment Forge, when we melt down, or, well, fragment up 1 raw iron, you will get an iron clump. An iron clump can be put into the fluid separation of your centrifuge to make 2 iron gems, and that will make 1 iron ingot each. So just by using raw iron to get the iron clump, separating it, we can turn 1 iron into 2 iron. However, we also get small iron clumps. We get 3 of them. These small iron clumps, you can turn 9 of them into 1 iron clump. And 1 iron clump, again, can be turned into 2 iron gems. So now, if you think... So basically, from 1 raw iron, we get 3 of these. So 3 raw iron makes us 9. So every 3 raw iron gets us another 2 iron clumps. We also get 3 small nickel clumps. And the same goes for that. So 3 raw iron will get us 1 clump, which we can centrifuge to get 2 nickel. So, if I look in here, we've nearly done it. What we can actually do is turn 3 raw iron into, and I have to do some mathematics here, we can turn 3 raw iron into 8 iron ingots. Is that right? Yeah, 4 equals 8. Yeah. We can actually turn 3 raw iron into 8 ingots and get an additional nickel, 2 nickel ingots as well. So that is super efficient. And I love the Fragment Forge for it. If you are processing nickel, you can actually get some small platinum clumps as well, which makes a platinum clump. Which makes a platinum gem in the fluid separation of the centrifuge. And therefore we can get platinum ingots as well through the Fragment Forge. So the Fragment Forge is really, really, really efficient when using ores. Moving on, we have one of my favorite items. This is the Enderic Laser. So I can place that down, and again, it needs a machine core. Lovely. You can power it from any side. And this is really, really cool. So you need to make another item of this, and that is the target designator. Let me just check the recipes on here, make sure I'm not missing anything weird. Adamant ingot, I think we explained how to make those. Yep. Carbon fiber, that's in the centrifuge. Enderic compounds. We spoke about that in the pulverizer. Motors. Yep. Okay, we're all good. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything, any steps out. So, when you've made your Enderic laser, you also need to make a target designator. That's going to use some steel, electrum, plastic sheets, again, which is made from raw biopolymer in the centrifuge. So raw biopolymer, you can use some packed wheat or even solid biofuel, which is something else, and processing units, which are made in the assembler using plastic sheets, carbon, etc., etc. So a little bit more complex, but still, following back what we've already learnt, these should be fairly easy to make. Target designator. So what we do here is we set a target. So I have here a budding amethyst, and I'm going to shift right click the budding amethyst bud, and it says on the left there position stored. What I'm then going to do is shift right click the bottom of my laser, and can you see it says position saved to machine? Now what this is doing is it is now firing a laser at the budding amethyst, and it's going to accelerate how fast the buds grow. As you can see here, it is going to use power, of course, but what it's also doing, as well as enhancing how quickly it's doing, you see that the amethyst will actually suddenly smash. Well, what that is doing is it's making fluxite. It's overloading the budding amethyst and making another material for us, fluxite. Fluxite is used for some really advanced machines in Oritech, like the arcane catalyst and a big solar panel and things like that. We can also use fluxite for making basic batteries and flux gates and all sorts of advanced materials. And that is how you make it. We can speed this up. I could say this side, position stored, do that on my laser. But what you can see is the laser isn't firing. That's because I've added a redstone signal with a lever. So you can add, I can add more here, more lasers, increasing how quickly we grow our amethyst, as you can see here. So you can add loads of lasers pumping out amethyst and overloading them to make the fluxite here. And that is how we use Enderic lasers. What you can also do with an Enderic laser is, if I just break this, the lasers have stopped. What I can also do is get a target designator, and I might just designate here on the ground, put this on my laser, and it's just going to start shooting the ground. And it should actually be collecting, the dirt that it has gotten as well. What you could do is put a block placer. Maybe you have like an automatic mining sort of thing or something. You could have a block placer, placing items and having your laser mine them, maybe. Something like that. I'm just thinking uses that this could be used for. And let's say in my Fragment Forge, let's actually place another one. There's no power in it. Well, I can also designate the Fragment Forge and then shift click the laser, and that is actually going to give power to the Fragment Forge. You can use it in that sense as well to power your machines wirelessly by shooting power from the laser into any of your machines, as I just did. You can see it's already fully charged. Now, I know what you may be wondering at this point. Okay, we've looked at all these amazing machines, but how are we actually moving items and power around? Apart from the Enderic laser, of course, which we've just looked at, moving wirelessly. So, there's a few items we can use. There is the item pipes, for a starter. So we also know that the Enderic lasers, which are a great example, will actually gather up the items that they break. However, we need to actually move these somewhere. Please bring in the item pipes. I can right-click this onto an Enderic laser, and then I can bring it over to my chest here. However, none of the items are actually leaving it. Well, what we could actually do here is right-click where we want it to come out of, and it will automatically extract from that side of the machine, as long as, of course, that side of whatever machine we're using can actually allow items to output from it. And these are automatically now going into our chest. It's really, really simple. You can also make a pipe wrench, which I can right-click, and it will disable it from connecting to the chest, and I can right-click it again to reattach, and I can shift right-click to break that pipe piece. What we could also add here is this item, a pipe booster. Now this will need powering, and these pipes can extract quite a lot on their own. However, if we add a pipe booster, and I'm going to face it towards the pipe I want to extract from, well, or increase, sorry, the speed of, we can see his little arm comes out and then goes in. That's because it needs power. Power here. Now what these pipe boosters actually do is it means that we can actually extract items and fluids up to 40 buckets per tick and extract an entire stack of items every tick, which is super duper fast. Now, of course, we can't extract fluids through the item pipes. If we put pipe into Oritech, you can see there are fluid pipes, which obviously do the same thing, but for fluids rather than items. An energy pipe, which we've already been over. Now, these can do 10,000 RF per tick. There is also the superconductor, which is the next tier up. It cannot connect to normal energy pipes, but it can extract an insane amount of energy. In the assembler, you are going to have to use fine wire, energite ingots, which is using fluxite and nickel in a... Would it be an assembler? An alloy, sorry. In the Foundry. A flux gate, which uses these items, processing units, etc. we've already looked at, and dubious container, which needs some items, again, we've already looked at. So that's how you make the super duper flux transfers, and that then concludes fluids, energy, items, and pipe boosters, and the wrench. That's how we're going to be moving around all of our items, etc. And one other thing I've forgotten to tell you about. Oh my goodness. I was just looking at our creative energy cube then, and I thought, I've forgotten something. And that is going to be the creative, well, not just the creative, the energy storage. So Oritech will by default use RF, which is the general kind of energy from modded Minecraft. It will utilize the Reborn Energy API on Fabric and FE on NeoForge. So any generators that you make, which we've only gone over the basic ones so far, will actually always output energy. And any other machines that accept energy from all sides won't output it again. One other thing is these cables, when they actually hit a machine, they can store 10k energy at the block that is connecting to them. So there's a bit of a buffer, basically, outside of the machine in the cables, but they don't store it in like all of the cables, I don't believe. So we have energy storage blocks. There's obviously the creative one. I've got a portable energy storage as well, which I can place here. If I place it like that, you can see the red side is now facing up, whereas on here it was facing this way. And this will basically accept energy from all sides, but only output it on the red port. You can upgrade these massively. We have a large energy storage here. I can plop down. And then again, use machine casings to add on to this. And these are obviously much bigger batteries. So that's how you can store your energy as well in Oritech. This pretty much concludes our beginner guide for Oritech. So we have looked over quite a lot in this guide. There's tons more to learn, so do check out the playlist you now see on screen, or will see on screen in a second, as that has all of my Oritech videos. I have filmed separate individual guides on each of these machines in case you forget any of them, and I've also filmed an ultimate start-to-finish guide for the entire mod, which you can get on there as well. So today we have looked at world generation, making some basic power with basic generators. We have looked at assemblers and powered furnaces. We've looked at the centrifuge, pulverizers, foundries. We have looked at fragment forges, Enderic lasers, and how to actually store and transfer all of those items. If you go onto my channel, you can see I do actually do a lot of Minecraft mods. These are all here on the top shelf of my homepage. I do other games as well, all of the latest releasing games. So if you are specifically just looking for Minecraft, then do check out this top shelf here for all of the different mods I've done. If you are looking for other mods or you have any other questions, then do just comment down below what mods you'd like to see, especially new and exciting mods like this one. I've absolutely fallen in love with Oritech. I feel like it's going to be one of my new favorite tech mods ever in a long, long time, and I really do not say that often. So please do also subscribe and leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video.